You know, one advantage to green woodworking is you always have lots and lots of shavings. I'm going to use a cigarette lighter to light this fire with, and I've had lots of people come through my classes that couldn't start a fire with a cigarette lighter. And you laugh, but it's true. And my rule of thumb has always been 5 seconds on the button. If you can't light a fire within 5 seconds with open flame, you're doing something wrong. Alright, so one of the things that Robin Wood told me today was to make your hook really small. About 1/4 of an inch, he said. And this one is beveled on the outside, both directions, so that I can put it where I need to put it. And I've got the tool rest on this thing very much like a Viking tool rest at the moment, where it swings in and out. And it's about even like my other lathe is, but I still find that the tool has to go a little bit below that center line to really cut good. Now, one of the things that I'm finding out is that this hook position cuts in lots of different ways. You can get that thing in there almost at 90 and it'll cut. Turn it back just a little bit and it cuts really well. You can stick it in there and you can slide it upside down in that slot and it cuts really well. So some of it really depends on what you're trying to do with the tool, because I found that if I'm trying to get outside the bowl here or on the outer edge of the rim, turning that tool over and guiding it along that edge allows me to kind of ride that down a little bit to open that up. Broke my cord. Ha! Wore out. Alright, so we fixed that disaster. Now back to what we were talking about. I find that turning this hook makes a difference on where you're trying to cut. But if that tool's sharp, it really doesn't take a whole lot of force to get that thing to cut. And depending on what you're trying to cut, kind of depends on how you position that tool. If I turn it over this way with the top up and put it in there, it cuts, but it doesn't cut as well pushing it through as it does if it's turned upside down like this to the cutting edge. It cuts better that way. But then if I pull it against the rim, it wants to catch when it's turned like that. So really a lot of it has to do with the manipulation of these tools and how you put them in here. But my whole purpose for making this small hook today was really to try to get in here and get deeper against that core to try to get in behind that spindle and try to cut this off. And I've got this curved or gooseneck type tool that I'm using right now, and it seemed to do pretty well for me yesterday at some of these tasks of kind of getting inside here and removing material off this inside rim. It feels different to me today a little bit on this tool because I've got the tool rest set up different, so it doesn't feel like it did yesterday. So everything's kind of a learning curve that you go through a little at a time with this stuff. And I'm trying to kind of let you see some of the things that I didn't see or wasn't privy to before I started doing this. I'm going to go back to that tool that Robin Wood told me to make here. Kind of see if I can it cuts real nice, but it also grabs really bad. And some of that may just be me. In fact, I'm sure it is. If I can get that bottom cleaned up inside here and get it as deep as I want it, then I'll worry about trying to get some of this cleaned up out in here. If I can get the bottom where I want it. Got a ways to go in there to get it as deep as I want it. Now, part of the flip side to this whole thing is that I'm working with a very small bowl. I'm not working with a large piece here because I don't want to have to cut down larger trees or go find larger trees to get bigger blanks when I'm learning. So I'm staying with stuff that's small, like bush pot size, stuff that's easy enough to put in a backpack for a truck or a scout, maybe tuck inside of a bush pot too high or something like that. And so that was the purpose behind this, and I wanted to learn the shaping and the tools and things like that. But I'm also making it so I've got a really confined space I'm trying to get into here, which you wouldn't have that if you were working with a larger bowl with a bigger amount of rim space right there. So that struggle I'm bringing on myself, but that's okay because it's teaching me something. And I'm really happy with the way the outside of this bowl looks right now. Now I just got to get the inside where I want it, and then I'll worry about cleaning up the outside rim here like I did last night. Little Mo Mountain hot sauce in here. Get you right. Mix that dude up good. And that rice. Oh yeah. Alright, taking a break here from the lathe. Get some rice in me. Pork chop. Share it with the dog here. Oh man, look at that. Perfectly white in the middle. Just the way we like it. Here, come on. Oh yeah. Good stuff, huh? Alright. You have to wait now. You have to wait. No, I felt like working on another bowl today and working on some of this new stuff that I learned today. And to me, that's what this stuff's all about. Is I can never wait to get out and try something new. I love it. So I thought, well, just me and the dog tonight. Girls are gone. And so we'll cook a little food over the fire, finish up our bowl, shoot a video. Glad you could join us. Are you back? Man, fatty. You just ate that whole bone? We're going to bury it. We're saving it for later, hiding it from Marshall. Catch. Good boy. Good boy. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. What I'm finding myself having to do here is carve some relief along this cone here to get in there deeper with the tool. And that's probably just a function of how small my bowl is. But as I carve relief in that thing, I'm able to get deeper inside there with this hook tool, and then turn a little bit and come across the bottom of the bowl and go a little deeper on the bottom of the bowl and run that out to the edge, and then go back in, and I can get deeper into the center every time that way. And I've just been kind of going back and forth like that to get that center cleaned out. Alright, so we're almost to the moment of truth here. We are real close to getting this thing to break off at the spindle here where we want it to. I'm just going to take a couple more cuts in there if I can get in there any deeper at all. And I've just been kind of recessing my way in there, just like that. It's got to be pretty close to being all the way through. So what we're going to do here is we're going to let up on the pressure, set the tool down, and we're going to come in here and kind of pop this sideways, just like that. We pop that sideways, it should have let go, and it did. But I'm going to come over here to this other side, lift my tool rest up, and go this way, and this way, and this way. And now I know it's let go. Now I can loosen things up with a hammer here. Just like that. And there we go. And now our bowl comes off. Part of it's on our spindle. I just got a little bit to clean out on the inside of our bowl right there, and then dress up the edges. And we have our second turned bowl. Alright, so here's my second bowl. I've cleaned out that stub with a hook knife. It's got a nice shape to it there. It turned out much nicer than the one yesterday. And being able to get inside there made a big difference in the ease of finishing this bowl. I thank Robin Wood for that information. He's the one that told me how to make that hook tool to get inside there. But most of this has just been trial and error on my part. Now I want to show you a couple things. I did make a different tool rest for the lathe, but again, I'll show you this. But the tool rest, as far as where it lies on the lathe, only makes a difference part of the time, because you still have to manipulate that tool down well underneath that tool rest. As you can see in some of these videos, you're really manipulating that tool all over the place along this tool rest on the axis here, as well as up and down, below center line, at center line, somewhere in between, depending on whether you're inside this bowl or outside this bowl. So there's a big difference when you're turning bowls on a lathe than just turning a spindle on a lathe, as far as trying to be just above center line with your tool rest. So I went ahead and put a Viking style tool rest on here. I just put a peg in a hole here and a carve out, and put a swinging tool rest in there, and I've just got a block in there to hold it up, and then I can use it on either side of this thing depending on where I have the bowl. But that tool rest allows you to at least start off center line with the tool, and then you can manipulate it up and down and back and forth from there. So this was an improvement from what I had yesterday, and it did seem to work better, and it allowed me to kind of manipulate the tool a little bit differently in different areas of the bowl as I was carving than I could with just that standard lathe type rest I was using yesterday. So the last thing I want to show you today, Rufus is over there relaxing in the background here, is I wanted to show you these tools. And the one I made after talking to Robin Wood was this, let's see, it was this very small hook tool right here that's only about 1/4 of an inch across, and that's the one that I use the majority of the time for getting way up inside that bowl to cut that spindle out of there. And then I've got a tool here that's just got an old axe handle on it, and it's kind of got some crank in the tool, and it's beveled on both sides on the outside, and that allows me to get to certain areas. And then I've got another small hook tool that's only beveled on the inside on one side that I use quite often as well. This tool probably cuts better than any of them, but the problem is it cuts almost too good. Either that or the hook's too open, one of the two. But this thing will take out some major league slices on the tool, and I almost have to use it as a facing cut type tool across the back of the bowl. It's about the only place I can use that. Otherwise it takes too big a bite. So those are the 4 tools that I've made, and all of these are made out of rebar. All of these are, I used a very simple heat treat, basically just quenched them in oil after I got them to critical temperature. And they've been working just fine, and they maintain sharpness now for 2 bowls, turning for probably 3 to 4 hours total. So they're working out really well. Well guys, I appreciate you joining me in my learning process on working a bowl lathe and turning bowls on a pole lathe. The bowl that I made today, I'm very, very happy with the outcome of that bowl. It worked out exactly the way I wanted it to. It has some nice shape to it. It's got nice depth, and it's cut well. And the tools worked very nicely on the bowl itself. One of those tools I got the advice from Robin Wood today on Facebook Messenger on how to make. So thanks for that, Robin. I appreciate that. I wanted to make a video that showed the learning process, that also had some close-up pictures of the tools at work. And as I learn more about the process, I'll make future videos. But I wanted to make a few videos back to back just to kind of show you the learning curve or the learning process to come out with something that looks like a decent bowl, and I think I got that today. And I'll continue to learn and continue to practice and keep doing it until I can't do it wrong. And in the future we'll make more videos. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks guys.